everyone. It is a Friday, the 23rd of February, 2024. I am Delbridge, Benchmark Realty in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. This is your status chat. And we're going to have a fairly short one because I've had a headache behind my eye that would have killed a normal human being. Fortunately, I'm able to soldier on, but we're going to keep it a little bit short because the editing takes a lot longer to do on these things than the actual shooting of it. So let's get on to that middle segment. If you like this content, please go to CallDelToSell.com, find the tab that says on YouTube, click it, and it'll open up a page of QR codes. There you can use a smartphone to scan and get to the YouTube page, or you can just mouse over and click it on a PC. There you'll be able to subscribe to this little button over here and click the notification bell so that YouTube will notify you when each Friday's blog has been uploaded. Thank you. Well, we're just going to look a little bit about what was released when the longer version, the explicated version of the Fed's summary, the actual minutes, shows up in what they tell us. Now, we're not going to go into the articles. We're just going to hit the headlines because, again, headache, normal person, I'm still struggling through. So let me show you something. You may surprise you, but I have to buy food. Real estate folks have to buy food and fix cars and do everything everybody else does too. We're people too. Actually, I like to think I'm people first. So here's a nice product that I picked up at the store today. If you can see it, it's Swaggered is sausage, 30 count. It's what I've been buying for years. Don't need a lot of sausage. One of these actually lasts me, believe it or not, I hate to admit this, but about 2 months or more. About no often than I eat sausage. But it's a product that I just looked at today and saw what the prices were. And I have my receipt right here. And I know what I used to pay for. Before this last bunch got in here, I was paying at this same establishment on average about $7.98 for a 30 count prepackaged sausage pack. And today I picked it up and I said, well, there's some 30s instead of the smaller counts they had. There it is. And I looked at the price. $11.82 for the same exact product. I mean, I don't know that they haven't added more fat or put more lean in it or something like that. Kind of done a Jack Sprat thing, but I'm just saying, ostensibly, it's the same product. The package is the same, looks the same, the price is different, the count is the same. No shrinkflation with that. But when you do the math between the $7.98 and this $11.82, it works out the ratio at 148% in just what, 3 years? So. Now, how many of you got kids at home or grandkids or youngins or just people that are just bored and eat out for comfort food? Here's a staple in a lot of dorm rooms if you send anybody off to school. Top ramen. All right, you see that? Those for a long time were a 6-pack for $1. 6-pack for $1. The only 6-pack I know you can get for $1. But here we have the ramen, and I noticed this was $1.68 the other day at a store. That's why I bought these. I said, I can't believe that's gone up that much. But when you look at it, if we do them and we divide, the easiest way to do them is to divide the pack by the number of packs in the count. I don't know if they've gotten bigger or smaller, but doing the 5 and the 6, we worked out before when they were 6-pack for $1, that came out to be 17 cents a piece, I think it was. $1 divided by 6. Then we have this, which is now right over here, 5-pack. Shrinkflation, they call it, when they're putting less of something in there. If you got 16 ounces of coffee, now it's 12 ounce, and they keep the price same, so you don't realize they raise the price on you. The same thing, doing that 5-pack by $1.68 by 5, it comes out to 33.6%. Now, if you work those out on the individual pack of ramen, I know that's a big expense for most of us, but it works out to 198%. And that may be because the demand for ramen, I imagine, if it follows economic theory, it's probably gone significantly up because it is what we call an inferior good. An inferior good is one of those that you wouldn't normally choose in a good or robust time. Like they often use steak and hamburgers. People would buy steak if they're doing well, but in the times when economics is bad, what they will do is many people will not eat as much steak. Maybe they eat more pork chops or hamburgers or something else. Therefore, that other thing that's being substituted is generally regarded as an inferior good. So I would imagine that instant noodles might be, I'm not insulting instant noodles, but I might think that instant noodles might be an inferior good that actually increases when times are bad. And yet we see the price, and that went up 98% for 198%. per pack of ramen. That might be telling you something right there. It's not a lot of money on your grocery bill, but as you add it up, every extra dollar that you're spending in your grocery bills is money that is not able to go to your mortgage or to a new mortgage if you buy a house. The same thing with your insurance is going up, and your everything is going up. So that leads me into this next part. So the Fed's minutes came out, the longer version where they're not really cutting and parsing for the camera and the microphone. The meeting notes came out, and they show that we have a problem brewing, that we have not yet handled inflation. The Fed is still worried about inflation, and some online pundits think the Fed has it wrong, and they ought to give up on inflation and lower those interest rates for the commercial real estate, which is the other problem that we have. The commercial real estate bubble is likely to burst. Now, it's going to burst worse in the blue cities and states. That was way crazy, and everything was just, I use the expression, laissez le bon temps rouler, right? We're going to let it roll, and everybody's making money, and so risk wasn't really there because everything was going up and up and up, and that was the only direction things could ever go, is up. So there's very little risk. People loan the money, and now those lower rates on those commercial loans are shorter term. They're coming due. Some of that property's not going to make it around the same owner, and if the owner can't refinance, they're probably going to have to sell it one way or another. Now, one of the things that we haven't really seen too much with the commercial real estate is there really haven't been a lot of sales yet. And so we're doing like we did with housing. We're still dealing with the elevated values on houses during the post-pandemic boom, because they were going at a certain rate, and then when we had sort of a perceived shortage, a fear of missing out, people paid more and more and more and more, and as we built up those more recent higher dollar sales, the values went up. And if things stop off too bad, they can go down the other way, although I really don't expect it in our area with our growth that we currently have. But real estate commercial does the same thing. It builds up until people don't want to buy as much, and as long as it's going up per square foot and development's going up and everybody's making money, the valuations to go with the loans are then set higher. And if they're several years old now, and now they're coming into a new dawn of a new day, a day where China's Evergrande's gone bust and various nations are in recession around the world, if we feel the overproduction of offices and overproduction in multifamily, we covered that a couple weeks ago, that they saw a bigger drop in slowing downs and starts than did single family because they're a different animal. Then at some point in time, if you can't make the sale, if you can't make the payment, can't refinance, they'll have to sell the property, and that's likely to slowly start booking values lower and lower, and it will eventually come down. Now, the Fed is concerned, seems to be hinting at a concern that we might have a systemic problem among some of the banks because they have so much of their assets are paper tied to this commercial real estate. Not our real estate, our home, individual homes like you and I live in, but they have it in this balance sheet issue where as long as nobody it's like that foil thing at the back of your refrigerator. That's now a science experiment. Doesn't really feel like a science experiment, and technically it's not until you peel back the foil and look to see what's in there. At that point in time, it's pretty horrendous, but between now and then, it's not really so much there. It's just that shiny thing in the back. So that's kind of where they're going. Now, when will this happen? How quickly it'll happen? I don't think it'll happen too terribly quick. Maybe it will. We saw the bank stock, that one particular bank, we're talking about New York Community Bank. We saw what happened to it when it wrote off a huge amount of loans. So I think it's still toward the end of the year. Now let's look at that middle screen that I have set up. Look at it. All we've done is hit the Google here, and we've asked for Fed News Summary. And look at CNBC says Fed officials express caution about lowering rates too quickly at last meeting minutes show. CDI economic summary, U.S. Fed rate cuts delayed on sticky inflation. Are you hearing a word in there? Inflation. You know inflation's real because you've got it, and it does affect your bottom line whether you have a lower interest rate or not on a mortgage or lower rents. Mortgage rates stuck above 7%. Fed meeting news today, FOMC leaves interest rates steady, projects 3 cuts in 2024. Powell says hikes likely over. So let me translate that. It's a beginning of a little bit of crawfishing. Remember earlier this year, the December meeting, he said we're likely to see, the rise are over, and we may see at least three or more cuts in 2024. And from that, everybody on one side of teeter-totter went nuts, and we're going to get 5 cuts, and they're going to get into the first half of the year. And we were having some pundits saying that we had a small chance of getting one starting in January. And it didn't happen. It's not what he said. But if we go back over and look at this quote here, it says, Powell says hikes are likely over. Likely over. Didn't say they are over. What if we can't get a hold of inflation? What happens then? You might have to keep the interest high. And he says likely over. They may have to raise it again. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying the Fed's got 2 problems that they're dealing with. If they're fighting the commercial real estate bubble, that's going to try to push them to lower interest rates to help the commercial banks out. But it's going to probably explode inflation on us regular people because it's going to stimulate the economy. And remember, our unemployment rate still is pretty good. So we're not in too bad a shape if we can just weather the storm, not have anything, no sudden moves, well, keep your hands in the air, no sudden moves. We'll be okay. Because our area, Middle Tennessee, is fairly robust. We're fairly strong. We're not immune to world economics. We're just not. But we're not in the shape that everybody else can find themselves into. So it's still a good time to sell your house. You don't have to worry about if I wait, am I missing out on anything, or if whatever. That timing, we know we're being shoved out fairly significantly to at least the second half of 2024. So now may be, while employment's still doing fairly well and the GDP is doing fairly well, might be the time to get that house listed so that we can get it sold. It's just how it works out, I think. All right, let's wrap this up with our tail end numbers and get this posted. Hello, I'm Delbridge of Benchmark Realty, Murfreesboro, Tennessee. If you are currently unrepresented and would like to know how to compare up to 3 properties side by side and room by room, then go over to my new YouTube channel, CallDelToSell. That's 1 L and Del, no spaces. Watch the demo on Real Scout, and then call me and we'll set up your exclusive ad-free account today. I have the numbers for today, but I want to say a final thank you to Top Ramen as being a great example of both shrinkflation and an inferior good, something that people switch to when times are bad, and yet you see the price of that particular product accelerated higher than the sausage did. So we have that going on. All right, so our numbers last week, 2/16 of 2024, we had 18,129 opportunities in the Real Scout system. That fell a little bit over the previous week. We had 3718 in the under contracts still showing. That rose just a tad, and the integer ratio between those 2 numbers remained unchanged, so those little changes were not that significant. This week, 2/23/24, we have 18,254, which is a slight increase of a little more than 100 in the opportunities. It increased. We are headed toward spring, and that's when we expect our big showings to begin in our hot part of our market. So they're increased just a little bit. And 3873 were the under contract still showing. That also increased just a little bit. And the ratio to round out the 3 went to 21%, increasing as well. So there we have it. I do not expect anything dramatic to happen, at least in this first half of this year. We might see some things. I don't have a crystal ball, but I really think we're fairly stable, and I just don't see the Fed moving. Now, notice in that one headline, it wasn't a direct quote, but the Fed in December of last year said at least 3. Now he's saying, now it said 3 rate cuts, and we've already seen a report in the past show where we looked at one of the governors was saying, from the FOMC, was saying, no, we really should only have 2 cuts if we have them. We should only have 2 cuts this year, not 3. So we have different opinions. The committee is more than just the chairman, and it looks like this commercial real estate is going to be not a threat to residential real estate, but more of a threat to the banks and how they have their stuff done. So we've got, just in those 2, one will be a fight. The inflation is a fight for dropping it, because the economy is still going good. But then if the banks and the financial or the monetary system has a problem, that might be a reason kind of. So we don't know. But what we do know is the Fed chair says we're not doing anything too quickly. And I think they're just really going to let it kind of play out and get a feel for what they need to do. Because remember, make no decision before it's time. That's the Fed way. All right, appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend. Bye.